Hello, my peaceful, profitable entrepreneurs. It is Wednesday. I am really excited to be here with you today. Straighten that up a little bit. We've got a really good conversation today. What did I title this one? Yes, you can bust through your revenue plateau and take home more cash. I'm really excited about this one today because this is something I talk to a lot of business owners about. I work with new business owners and I work with people who've been in business for a while and are kind of stuck, and that's just a term that I hear a lot is stuck. So I've got a lot to say about this today, and I'm just really glad to be here today and share it. And I'm looking at myself and I'm like, no, I did not go gray overnight. I just put a lot of dry shampoo in my hair and it just, looks a little gray, but I'm not going as gray as it looks. But I just wanted to mention too, we have a free coaching call giveaway. We're going to pick a winner tomorrow. And this is something I love doing in February. I've done two previously in past years. It's called, Give Your Business Some Love. And it's just free coaching and just something that I love doing. I love Valentine's Day, and I just think it's a great opportunity to love on your business, love on yourself, and just kind of hit like a refresh. Ideate with me, get some eyes and another brain on your business. And so we've got that pinned at the top. So we'll pick a winner in the next couple days. So you can just read the directions for that. But we're giving that away. And also today, if you join live, if you catch the replay, comment, question, drop an emoji. We will pick a winner for our masterclass. So I know there's a million places you can be. So this is a 90-minute masterclass. I have it for sale on my website, but I like to give it away to people who show up. And it's just a very robust, 4 ways to grow your business. It sounds simple, but there's so many things that we can do. And so this masterclass that I give away is all about strategy and energetic. So it's a really great mix of the left brain and the woo. So that's what I love to do. So we'll jump right in. I've got it pulled up here. And I know, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to drop those in. I'll, pick those up as we're going. Just double checking. Okay, yeah, there, I'm live. We'll talk today about this. We'll jump in. I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but that's the only note I have about what to mention. But yeah, busting through your revenue plateau and taking home more cash. This is something, like I said, I just talk to a lot of business owners and they feel stuck. So, we're going to go into this conversation and start it assuming that you have the strategy in place to actually reach your goals. So let's say that you want 10K months, but you're selling a program that is $300. That is going to be a huge stretch. You're going to have major capacity to get to that 10K number, just making sure that you have a framework set up for your revenue. So I've done countless intensives with clients around this. So people like to hire me when they are doing this and they're kind of looking at their revenue goals and then they're also looking at their offer. And we want to marry those two. We want their offer to be super supportive to their client and give them what they need. And, how do we get them to the revenue that feels good for them, that feels like a good even exchange of energy? How do we create that path? So that's a lot of the work I do with people is just creating those programs and figuring out how to create that path to the revenue that they want. So making sure that you have an offer, making sure that you have a service that gets you or that can get you to that revenue that you want. So I'll just use an example. In my business, we have, kind of advisory piece of revenue and the bookkeeping piece of revenue. And the only bookkeeping we take on is with our advisory clients right now. We don't just take on ad hoc bookkeeping, but let's say I did want to do that. I wanted to grow that revenue stream. So right now our bookkeeping revenue is around $6,000 a month. So let's say, hey, I want to grow that to 10K a month. I could totally do that, but I'd have to look at the fact that most of our clients, the average bookkeeping, monthly amount is $500. We have some more than that, but $500 is kind of the base, average that I would say. So, if I wanted to add an extra $4,000, that would be 8 bookkeeping clients, and that feels like a lot. That's a lot to onboard. That's a lot to learn. We have 2 bookkeepers right now. They are subcontractors. They have full-time jobs and do this in their, spare time. But I would really have to figure out, like, how are we going to get 8 more clients? Because I would have to hire another bookkeeper, or maybe one of my bookkeepers will quit their job and go full time, which, just putting that out there to the universe, maybe it'll happen, who knows? But, we'd really have to have a way to increase our capacity, because y'all know me, I have 3 kids. I'm really here for my one-to-one clients and supporting them. And so it's really important to me to be able to take my kids in the morning and pick them up from school and have the afternoons with them. And I work a little bit more than part-time hours, so I don't want to change that. So I'd really have to come up with a way to get to that 10K bookkeeping month if I wanted that. So that's really something I want you to think about. And again, we mentioned that program. Like, if you wanted to make $10,000 from that program, but you're selling it for $300, you'd need like 33 people in the program. So really get clear on your offer first. When you're thinking about your revenue plateau and you're not where you want to be, like, make sure that you literally have the framework, you have the foundation to get there. That is the first piece. So then after we've gotten clear on that, and it's like, okay, yeah, I am going to onboard, 8 new clients or whatever that looks like that feels good. I've got the infrastructure for that. We have the capacity to support that. Really look at your strategy. So if you feel like you're at an income plateau or revenue plateau, really looking at, are you doing all the things that you need to do? And I know it sounds so basic and simple, but so often we think we're at a plateau, but we're really not doing the things to get more revenue. Are you consistently showing up with value and selling? Are you clear on the problem that you solve and how people can work with you? Like, those are just small things that, like, you feel like you're stuck, but like there's so much that you could still be doing. You're not actually stuck. You have all these levers that you can press to really keep growing that revenue. So, some examples of that. I'm working with 2 clients right now who kind of were looking at their annual growth from 2022 in 2021, and they pretty much had like minimal growth. And so we were also looking at like the lifespan of the business. And so they had like a huge, just kind of explosion, and just went out of the gate, hit it hard, and did amazing, and then kind of tapered off in the last couple years. And so we were kind of looking at that, and they were kind of deflated and frustrated. And I'm like, with all the love in the world, like, you've literally not done any marketing, like none. And, for both of them, they kind of had these growing years where they're setting up infrastructure with team and processes and hiring more people and all that stuff that was going to support growth later on. So now it's like, okay, you've got that infrastructure in. Now you're in a beautiful position. Like, you've got so many things in your back pocket that you can use to like increase that growth. Like, you're literally not doing anything on social media. You're not selling in front of your audience. You're not getting in front of other audiences. Like, there's so many things that we can tap into and just pull out of your back pocket and still, work with. So I think that's just something that I really want you to get clear on. It's just a great place to be. And that's why I offer these free, consistent content for consistent 5-figure months calls, because like, there's just so much that business owners can do that they don't even realize. Like, they think that they're stuck. They think they've hit a plateau, but like, really, there's just all these other things that they can tap into that they just haven't yet. And so once you start doing that, I mean, that just opens like a whole new opportunity of growth for you. So really get clear on that. So that's what I really wanted to start this conversation with first is, do you have an offer that can support your revenue goals, your take-home pay goals? And then are you showing up consistently in front of your audience, in front of other audiences, and selling? Because, you want to make sure that those things are happening first before you say that you're like stuck. Those are things I want to be really clear on. Obviously in this, weekly live stream, like, I'm not working with you one-to-one, but this is where I invite you to be like a detective and start looking at your business and saying like, hey, do I actually have these things set up before I just say that I'm stuck or it's not working or whatever? Like, have I done these 2 things? And then once you're there, that's when we're going to start looking at the mindset part, which is the bulk of this conversation, what I'm so excited to share with you today. So if you're hopping on, please, share your comments and questions. That's what I'm here for. But we're going to dive in. And I love a quote. It's by Carolyn Elliott. And it says, you don't get what you say you want, you get what you want. I'm going to say that again. You don't get what you say you want, you get what you want. So this means that if you've hit an income glass ceiling or a revenue ceiling, basically it's kind of like your mind is wanting to keep you safe, and it's basically like a part of you doesn't want this thing more than it wants it. And if you're sitting there thinking like, Jordan, that is so effed up, that is not the case, I know that I want this, I'm not just saying that I want it, like with all the love in the world, I invite you to really ask yourself, like if you say that you want more revenue, you say you want more clients, sit down and ask yourself, and maybe journal, ask what part of me doesn't want more clients, what part of me doesn't want more revenue. Dig in and see if there's a reason that you actually don't want the thing you're talking about. So when you ask what part of me doesn't want more clients or more revenue, maybe you'll realize that you're scared that you're going to be overwhelmed, or that you are worried that you don't have the infrastructure to support it and you're going to have to hire more team, and that's kind of a pain and you don't really want to do that. Or I haven't really been paying much in taxes, so if I make more money, then I'm going to have to figure out taxes and how do I save for it and all those things. Thinking about what is the benefit of not having the thing that you want. An example I had recently with a client is we realized, and she realized, that she was spending like 80% of her time on social media creation, and it's just like a wild amount of her time. So we started creating a strategy to really like make that an easy process that she can do ahead of time and that eventually she can hand off to someone. We wanted it more streamlined. Like, she would obviously still be the person doing it, writing it, it's her voice, but it would be someone else to facilitate like scheduling and posting and repurposing and all that. And she realized she had like so much resistance to that. Like, we created the framework, we set up the foundation for doing that, but we started looking at why was this so hard for her to like hand over or let go of. And really the reason was that she was afraid of the other places in her business that she would need to focus on. She felt like social media was always kind of the safe problem to solve, and that it was just her easy go-to. And so it's kind of like her brain's mac and cheese. Like, if she's working on the social media stuff, she doesn't really have to worry about all these other things in her business. So that was just really interesting to see. So if you aren't getting the clients or the revenue you want, start asking yourself and getting really curious, like, what part of me doesn't actually want this thing? And just explore it. Let yourself get curious, be a detective, and see what's coming up. That's where some of the work that I do with my one-on-one clients is so helpful, because they have me as a mirror and me to kind of like ideate with and bounce ideas off of. But you can do this yourself and just kind of figure out like what is coming up. So let's see. If you're jumping on, let me know if you have any questions. We're kind of in the middle. But we were just talking about, if you are at your revenue plateau or you're feeling stuck, that was after the first couple things, is really looking at your mindset and making sure that you're not just saying you want something, but you actually do want something. So the second piece of that is just to not make yourself wrong. So our brains are really smart, like they are trying to keep us safe. And so by getting curious and thinking our brain, we are realizing that our brain is really good at its job. And so I just think that's a great place to give yourself tons of compassion. If you've ever heard of someone talk about the reticular activating system, the RAS, it's like your brain likes to pick up on things that support what it wants. So, just an easy example is the other day, it was just like super cloudy and rainy here in Charleston. It was just gray. And I saw one of the teachers at drop off had a yellow sweater, and I was like, oh, I love that yellow sweater on this gray day. Like, I love seeing that yellow. And so at that drop off to the other kids' drop off, we started looking for yellow, and we saw yellow everywhere. Like, it was totally amazing. And honestly, I feel like it was like my husband's grandmother like speaking to us, so that's a whole other thing. But it felt really good, and it was fun to do with the girls and show them really like what we focus on expands. And so that's just a really big piece of it is, realizing that your brain is trying to keep you safe. And so when you don't actually want something, it picks up on all these things that support that. So I don't know if any of you are parents, but I follow Dr. Becky on Instagram, and she always gives great parenting advice and perspectives. And a lot of the work that she does is around like connection before direction. I think that's like a term with child stuff, or my kids go to Montessori, so I feel like I hear that term a lot. But connection before direction. So that looks like if your kid doesn't want to go to bed, you're sitting there and you're like, I totally hear you. You don't want to go to bed. Like, that's not what you want to do right now. I get it. Or, you know, if they're like, sister and them are fighting, and it's like, yeah, I totally see that you're frustrated. Like, your sister stole your book, and that is really frustrating for you. And so it's this connection piece first before you're like, but I can't let you hit your sister, or, but, you know, I have to make sure that you are well rested for school tomorrow, and it's my job to keep you safe and healthy, and part of that is going to bed. Like, before you have that whole conversation, it is just acknowledging where they are. I see you, I hear you. And so I feel like that is this part of the exercise that we need to really lean into with this is it's not just the, okay, brain, you're keeping me safe, whatever. It's like really leaning into like, okay, thank you. I see you. You got this. Like, you're trying to keep me safe. I appreciate that. And, you know, just making sure that like we acknowledge our brain and what it's trying to do for us, and seeing that it's not wrong. It's actually very right. You know, it's kept us alive for all these years, and just part of our evolution is the brain keeping us safe. But we also have to acknowledge that before we can move on. And I guess it's example of me, and if you've been on any of my previous live streams, I may have mentioned it before, but like for me, time is the big thing. So if I hit a revenue or a plateau with my revenue, I know that part of me that doesn't want that more is that piece of me that is scared about time. And especially with having my daughters, you know, back to back, and I was growing my business, and I was working night times and nap times. And then with COVID lockdown, my husband was working, and I had the kids on lockdown with me and trying to work. Like, I have a lot of stuff that comes up around time. So that's something that I work on with my coach, is creating safety, because I could see where I wanted the clients, or I said I wanted the clients, but like part of me was really like, but what if I get them and I have to, you know, do all this extra work and I don't have time and I feel stressed. Like, that is something that I have to work through. So I really invite you to look at in your business, like what's coming up for you. Like, is it like, I literally don't have QuickBooks set up. Like, how am I going to, you know, handle all of this? How am I going to pay taxes? And then digging into like, okay, brain, thank you for keeping me safe. And then the next step is, how do we create safety around that thing? So if you're, you know, looking at something and you're seeing that you don't feel safe, or it doesn't feel safe to make more money, or you don't know if you'll have time with your family, or you don't know how to handle taxes if you make more money, like really coming up with ways that you can handle and create safety around that. And just as a side note, like, it doesn't mean that that's going to go away. Like, you know, we wear a helmet, like kids wear helmets, you know, when we bike and all that. And it's not that like an accident is never going to happen, but it severely mitigates the terrible stuff that could happen. You know, my dad was hit by a car on his bike, and that helmet saved his life. It didn't keep the accident from happening, but you know, it saved his life. And so that's something to think about, is like, safety means that like you're creating something to mitigate that. And it means that, you know, you can handle it no matter what. So that's part of like this whole creating safety, is like, it doesn't mean that like, yeah, you may have more time that you, or you may lose time, you know, and you have to figure out stuff with your family, or you have to pay more in taxes. And so, yeah, that might feel a little bit sticky. And so part of that is, how can you create safety around that? So if you're worried about taxes, maybe talking to a CPA, finding someone that you trust, getting the good bookkeeper so that you know you can keep up with this stuff every month, and creating safety there. And then, you know, for me, for my time, it really looks like, you know, I look at my calendar and have gotten, you know, good at time blocking and time tracking to know how much time it takes me for things, so that I know like what my capacity is and what I can still feel good around. Like, I still keep some open time on Friday so that I can volunteer at my kid's school, or, you know, maybe go do a facial, or go have lunch with a friend, or like, you know, just working in, you know, breaks into my day. Like, I'm not going to have meeting after meeting after meeting and then have to do all my follow-up stuff at night. Like, that just doesn't feel good for me. And so I work in like the safety and the breaks and the time that I need so that I can really feel safe. Like it's okay to take on a new client because I know I have these buffers in. That's kind of the thing with, you know, if you feel like, oh, am I not going to have downtime or am I not going to be able to take vacation? Like working that into your schedule to show yourself that it is okay and it is safe. And then if you're scared of like not being able to handle all the tasks, or do you have the infrastructure set up, like that's when you're looking at, okay, what kind of software can I use to make this easier and to make it automated? What kind of systems and processes can I set up with my team or with my clients so that, you know, I have these other hands and these other checks and balances to make sure that like it's not just me doing every single thing. And so when you hit this plateau or you hit this revenue threshold, you know, it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means we need to like figure out what is your brain, you know, what is the thing that your brain doesn't want to happen, and then making sure that we create safety around that. So your brain may be right and it's keeping you safe and all that things, but let's like work through that stuff so that we can like bust through that, because it's great that the brain wants to keep us safe and all that, but like it's really going to limit us if we don't deal with what's underneath that. So let's make the brain congruent with what you say. So you don't get what you say you want, you get what you want. So the 3 things I was talking about were identifying the part of you that doesn't really want the thing, then indulge yourself, say thank you brain, love on that brain, you're doing a great job, and I'm going to create safety around this so that this doesn't keep holding me back. You know, I just think this is such a great conversation to have. And so if you've done the first parts of creating that container or that, you know, whatever service or whatever your offer is, making sure that it can support that revenue that you want. And then you're making sure that you do have a strategic plan, that you are organized and you are implementing on how you're offering that to people and how you're showing up consistently. I always think of clients now and clients later, like, you know, people have contacted me. They've followed me for years sometimes, and then they are like, shit, I'm ready to work with you. Like, this is the thing. And so knowing that like it's a long-term game, but also making sure that you are consistent along the way and that you're doing your part. And then if those pieces are in place and it's still like not working or you're stuck, that is when I really invite you to do this detective work and see what it is that you're afraid of, or what part of you doesn't want this. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is where the magic is when you discover what it is, and working through that, it makes a huge difference. So I've got like a case study of one client. We worked together one-to-one for a long time, and they wanted to double their revenue. And so part of them didn't want to double their revenue because it meant like really big changes in their business. Like they had a brick and mortar, and so in order to double their revenue, they would need to double the people that they served. And in order to double the people that they serve, they would need to hire a lot more staff. I'm not going to go into details because I want it to be confidential, but in order to have all the staff and all the extra people, they needed a much bigger location. You know, this was all like based on like laws and stuff. Like there's just laws around like ratios around people that they needed to support their clients. So, you know, we really looked at like, okay, this is the infrastructure that can really support that new revenue goal. You have a strategy, like you will be able to fill these spots for that revenue goal. So then we really indulged the brain and we're like, yes, thank you. And we actually, you know, I supported them to pivot their business. Like it was one of the biggest moments that their business will ever have. And so, you know, really honoring and thanking their brain, because their brain was scared. It was a really big moment. So before they even did anything, we really like dug into the numbers and budgeting and using like, you know, the previous data that we had from their books and then projecting with some other things. And so we got super specific around cost and what cost would be, and what revenue would need to be, and then backed into like the numbers of, you know, how many. So we really had these good, better, best scenarios. And so it was so helpful for them to see the numbers on a spreadsheet like that. And it was so helpful to see it just like laid out, because they were very empowered and they knew like, okay, we can make this happen. Like this is huge and it's freaking scary, but like we had to kind of go through these things to get there. And that's just like a very literal, like concrete example. But I wanted to give a different one other than myself and the other client. Trying to think if there's another one that comes up around this, but it's just so helpful to see. And like I said, with the intensives I do with people, this is where we're really kind of creating that foundation. And then if they move into the one-to-one work is when we're really like, oh, okay, so we got here with this framework that we built, and now what's coming up? Like, okay, we've gotten to that next level. And I always like to say next level, same devil. So we're really working through that stuff, but we already have the service, the offer lined up, and we have the strategy. And so then what? So that's what I'm really supporting people on. So I am so excited to share this with you today. I think it's just really powerful stuff that I've seen in my business and with countless clients that I've supported. I just think that it's so easy to overlook these questions and to think that like, no, I say that I want more revenue and I say I want more clients. Like, that means I want it, but like really like dig underneath, do some journaling, get support, whatever that looks like, because doing this under work and finding out what's coming up for you is going to help you bust through that plateau. I've just seen it so many times and I know it to be true. So if you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, great, Jordan, I want to bust through my revenue plateau, but I don't think that my offer is aligned to get to my revenue, or I actually don't have a strategy to get in front of my audience or get in front of other audiences or sell. I don't have anything consistent. I want to create an offer, I want to promote it, but I'm wondering what people are going to think, or I don't even know where to start. Like, these are the reasons that people hire me. And if they're really trying to get clear on their offer and they want to stick their head in the sand because they don't want to look at the numbers and they're not a numbers person and they don't really logistically know what this will look like that is what people hire me for. I'm really good at this. I'm really good at analytical side, and I'm really good at the woo side to like manifest and get the mindset around the piece to help, increase your revenue. So I'm going to drop a link below. It's my free consistent content for consistent 5-figure months. It's a free call. It's 30 minutes. People walk away with action steps that they can take in their business. It's not a template that I've got that I'm trying to slap on your business. It's literally like, what does your business need from you? And let's create a plan for that. So I hope this has been really helpful. And don't forget to sign up for the free coaching call, and have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week.